everybody and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm doing a video that has been a long time coming. Quite a while ago I did tweet saying that I was going to redraw my followers' artwork, and this is similar to a previous style of video where I drew my followers' OCs. However, I've decided to make it a bit more inclusive and include any kinds of art. So you guys were able to contribute any artworks, whether it's fan art, your own characters, or even, I don't know, say a landscape. That would all be accepted, and yeah, I could draw your art. So the first entry is from Michael, and he has done the Pizza Planet truck from Toy Story. And of course, I had to include this one because it is just so adorable, and the drawing's pretty good, and I want to see what it looks like in my style. So I started off with a rough, very light sketch with my mechanical pencil, and I was trying to be a bit careful with this because with these drawings I planned on sketching on the paper that I'm actually colouring on, so I didn't want to push too hard to make lines that I couldn't later erase. After I got the sketch to where I was quite happy with, I went over with my kneadable eraser and erased this sketch as much as I could until I could just barely see it. And after this, I went over with my Copic markers. Now I started off with some really light colours, just a canary yellow and other sort of soft brown colours to go with each of the areas of the colours that I'm colouring in. And then I slowly built up the details as much as I could, and after that I sketched in some little details with lines, and yeah, overall it's not completely perfect. There are a few mistakes in here. The perspective of the art isn't exactly perfect or right, but I still think it's really cool because I don't often draw cars or anything like that, and I just had fun sort of sketching in those shapes and getting the colors where I liked it, and then adding the little grimy details and, you know, the dirt and the dents in the car. And yeah, that was quite fun to do. After this I added some light highlights with a white Posca pen, and we are done. This next submission is by Amanda from All J Art, who is quite a good friend of mine, and we've done a few collabs in the past, but yeah, she actually submitted this watercolor donut. She said it's her mission to make every artist overly obsessed with donut art just like her. And to that I say, let's do it. Let's make a donut artwork. So this one was really fun to do. I just drew in some rough sort of wobbly round shapes, obviously one bigger than the other to create a donut shape, and then after that I used some beiges and soft yellow colors, buttercup yellow like that, and I went in and I shaded and did all the sort of parts where there's no topping. Now after this I went over with the frosting or the icing of the donut, and I kind of took some creative liberties here because I was looking at the colors she used, which was purple, pink and blue, and when I think of those colors I think of a galaxy, and then I just couldn't help myself. I had to sort of get on the Google machine and Google a galaxy donut just to see what sort of things would come up, and delicious things came up, I'm going to tell you that. But I really decided I wanted to change it up a little bit, and instead of having sprinkles, have this sort of patterned icing on the top that's sort of kind of reminiscent of a galaxy, though not overly, because, you know, it's kind of hard to mix galaxy icing if you think about it. But this was super fun because I had a lot of fun just drawing in the colors and the shapes and trying to make that icing look gloopy and delicious looking. And yeah, after this I went in with a white Posca pen, again just to add some highlights to make that icing look extra glossy and shiny and delicious. And you can tell I was a bit hungry when I drew this because I was spending a lot of time on it and kind of drooling over the artwork a little bit. It looked quite delicious. So thank you Amanda for making me draw this. I am starving now and I'm gonna go buy some donuts and eat them. And yeah, I guess I'm a little bit obsessed with donut art now because this was super fun and I definitely want to try it again in the future. Maybe an oil painting or something. That would be really cool. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this, and sorry I changed the design around a little bit. I just had a bit of fun with it. So the next submission is this adorable little creature by Silent Lilac, and you know me, I'm a big sucker for dragons. If you put a dragon into submissions, I'm most likely going to be drawn to it. Try not to use that to your advantage, just kidding. Anyways, I'm excited because there's a dragon, and she said she would love to see her in my style of dragon. So I tried a little bit just to get my style, however I still wanted to be faithful to the original. Look at this little thing, it's like a little bean. It's just so cute and round and chunky, and I love her so much. So for this one, I decided to go with a colored line art style because why the heck not? And something good I can use for that is my recent addition, a blue Tombow dual brush pen. I love this thing because it's just so colorful and keeps my artwork just a little bit more vibrant compared to, say, a black line art pen, and I really like it. And I also thought the blue was a good choice too because the colors green and purple both have blue in them, so I thought it would fit nice and well, and to behold, it actually does. So the main colors I actually used for this little one is grass green, which was the green color obviously, but I also used lavender for the purple and begonia pink for the flower parts. And to be completely honest, this was super fun, and it was just a really cute chunky little dragon, and I had a blast drawing it. And I tried to sort of mix up the style a little bit, you know, trying to have a little bit more of a sort of detailed style that I like to draw, while also, as I said before, staying faithful to the original. I decided to go for a flying pose this time because I felt like it was a bit more dynamic, and I just wanted to see what those chunky little limbs would look like hanging down as she's flying through the air. And of course I had to include the little purple butterfly that is on the original artwork as well, and this time the butterfly is flying along next to her and she's looking at it. And I absolutely love the way that I drew the chunky little nose in this. It's sort of a more cartoony style dragon instead of like a super realistic scary dragon, but I really like the way it turned out and I think it's super cute. So this next submission is by GORR, and they've said, how about my smart papa portrait? And I looked at this, and the first thing I sort of saw when I saw this was the color choices. I absolutely loved the sort of color style with the dog, but it's got like blues and purples in it, and then it's got a nice sort of bright, warmy, yellowy, goldy background. I just really like this one, and the addition of the glasses were just so cute. I just had to include it. So I started off with a very sort of light sketch, and then I erased that quite a bit, and then I went back over with my colored pencils to add the sort of line art details. Now I actually used a few different colored pencils for this. I used some blues and some purples, some very sort of small amounts of pinks, mainly in the nose, and yeah. After this I went over with my Copic markers and I just layered upon layered lots of different sort of soft blues and purples, trying to keep to the original shadows and stuff like that, but of course still adding my own sort of flares to it. And I had a lot of fun just experimenting with color and using a sort of not as much realistic color on a sort of more realistic animal. I felt like it was just really fun to do, and I loved the end results. Now after this I went over with the glasses, and initially I did use a black inking pen, but I went back over that later for another reason. But yeah, for the eyes I decided to go with not black or anything like that because I didn't want it to be too intense. I just decided to go for more gold sort of colors, and yeah, overall I really like it. But after this I decided I wanted to go back in and add more sort of details with the pencils. I just felt like I could add a little bit more scruff, a little bit more whiskers and that kind of thing, and help it look a little bit more realistic. Now, one thing I thought about doing when I first saw this was that yellow background. I had the best idea for that, and that was to use some metallic gold. Now, I actually decided to settle on my sort of gold ink because I could use it as a slightly more sort of like a paint wash look to it instead of like a solid gold, and that would sort of, you know, hint at the fact that it is like a paint wash background in the original artwork. Now, this last submission is one that I have been wanting to do for the longest time. It is a literal sandwich. I actually have a friend who has a sandwich for a head, and he wanted me to draw him, so I decided I would do that. And of course, I'm talking about Hybrid BLT, well, most recently just Hybrid now, but he was known as Hybrid BLT online, and as you know, BLT is bacon, lettuce, tomato. It's a sandwich, and that's sort of what his online persona is, and to be honest, it's pretty awesome. And yeah, I decided I wanted to do a hyper realistic looking sandwich, obviously still with an illustrative style, but add a lot of detail in there and try and make the bread look nice and crusty, and then also have like really nice looking bacon and lettuce and tomato, and then just have these like really realistic angry looking eyeballs on the top of that. I thought that that would just be hilarious and awesome, and definitely something you don't see every day, but that's kind of the thing I like to create. So for the bun, I used a whole bunch of different colors. I used basically all of my sort of browns and earth tones, as well as quite a good amount of yellows as well, because I wanted it to be really nice and warm looking. And then for the greens, I used a lot of lettuce green, haha, get it? But I also used a bit of emerald green, forest green, pine tree green, acid green, so many different greens. And then for the reds of the tomato, I basically just used cadmium red and cardinal, as well as a small amount of crimson, and that was just to add a sort of nice rich deepness to those tomatoes. And then I also added quite a few different browns and reds for the bacon as well. And for other details, I decided to also go over the top with Posca pens, because I just wanted some like nice little crisp bright highlights in some areas, and I felt like the colored pencils weren't cutting it enough. I did use the colored pencils quite a bit too to add extra texture and stuff to the bread. I feel like it helped it look like really nice and crusty. And yeah, for the eyes, I used a lot of sort of light cool grays for the white parts, and then I used some different browns and yellows for the irises. And after this, I used my colored pencils to add some veins to the eyes and give it some nice big angry eyebrows. So here's the final results for all of them, and I love them all so much, guys. I hope you enjoyed watching this, and to the people who submitted the art, here it is finally, and I hope you enjoy it. And yeah, smash like, subscribe to get your scribble fix in the future. I might definitely do this again in the future, so I'll leave a link to the original tweet. Just reply to that with your art, and maybe I'll draw it in a future video. So anyways, I'm gonna say goodbye, and yeah, hope you all have a lovely day.